Welcome to Wild, Women in Lending Determined to Make an Impact. I'm your host, Robyn LaVassaur. They say our biggest fear isn't being inadequate, it's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to Wild with Robyn LaVassaur. We are going to talk about how we talk, even more importantly, how we communicate in general. And this episode is called Communication Ninja for a reason. Communication gets harder and harder, I believe, in the industry in general, really in life, because of cell phone technology, the internet, email. There is so much that allows for us to be disconnected. And the truth is, when we are disconnected and when things start to do things for us, yay, in some areas, right, for technology, it also takes away our own skills. And in lending and in real estate, and in really many professions, all of us would benefit greatly being better communicators. And so what does that look like in terms of you and how much you put in time and effort and energy in developing your communication? And I want to just go through some basic things that absolutely, so I will tell you personally, I was not a great communicator and I still struggle sometimes. And so when we are talking, you think about how we communicate, how engaged we are. And so if I was right now looking down at my phone, pausing, saying a lot of ums and ands, how quickly would you stop talking to me? Would you stop listening? I'll tell you what, we don't do a great job of owning our space with both our words, our overall presentation, whether it's hands, gestures, facial expression, tonality, right? Lots of tonality and how we do things. And so if you ever listen to someone that like puts you to sleep, or listen to somebody that you're really not listening to, you don't remember a word that they said, the entire reason for that is that they are not a communication ninja. So the best news in the world, it's actually a learned skill. Yay. Which means we can all learn it, we can all practice it, we can all improve upon it all the time. And I love that because it's empowering, right? It's not natural born talent, although I think some people are naturally born communicators, if you will, or talkers. Man, one of the number one communication skills I can tell you right away is listening. And we're really bad at that one on the general rule of thumb. So I want to go through a few things, and I'm not multitasking right now, but when you think about multitasking, if you are truly present in a conversation, you're present both internally and externally. Have you ever sat there and either listened to someone and or been talking to somebody, and even though their hands are free, they're not looking at anything else, you can tell they're not all there. You can tell their mind is somewhere else. I'll tell you what, it happens to me as a parent, as a wife, as a friend. There are moments, and sometimes even people come back and say, we talked about this. And I'm like, we did? And I don't remember because I was actually internally multitasking. I was internally not present. How do we do that? Well, even something like this, sitting at the dinner table or with your clients where all of a sudden your phone is buzzing and you're saying, hey, I got to take that real quick, or I got to look, or I'm glancing at it. I'm glancing out the corner of my eye. You are actually not fully present. And for every moment that we're not fully present, our brain is not really truly absorbing what our clients are saying, what our referral partners are saying. And we don't have an opportunity to go deeper in conversation, in question asking, in discovery, if you will, for your clients. And so you stay in that surface level conversation, surface level. And when we are at surface level, you're going to ask bad questions. You're going to give and receive bad answers and vice versa. And the entire thing will feel pretty mundane. And it certainly won't feel like it was beneficial, time well spent, or memorable. And if you really think about it, if you've got borrowers who are talking to 3 or 4 different lenders, don't you want to be memorable? If you've got a real estate agent who are taking calls from multiple different lenders who all would like to work with that realtor, don't you want to be memorable? Well, you could wear a great outfit. You could have great dress and attire. You could honestly be on time and hand them every flyer on the planet and talk about your experience with loans. But if you are boring, if you don't have tonality, if you don't have presence, if you don't know how to ask really great questions and get really great answers in return, if you are not a great listener, if you are not willing to say, hey, the least amount that I can say and the most amount they can say, the better off I am, then I promise you, you are less memorable than you believe that you are. And so how do we do it? I'm going to give you a little bit of a list that I kind of wrote down. So a couple of different things. One is open-ended questions. I say this a lot, but asking open-ended questions is such a game changer. And that really comes with, hey, am I asking a question that would cover who, what, when, where, why, and potentially even how? When you ask basic questions like, what's your income? Somebody might say, hey, I make $4,000 a month. That's it, right? Straight up question. Instead of, tell me about your job. Oh, now they're going to explain a little bit about their job. So they're talking, and then tell me about compensation for your job. Oh, they're going to tell you some more things. All of a sudden, you're able to bob and weave and some different conversation. And it feels very smooth and natural instead of very sterile. Hey, I'm taking an application. I'm typing in some things. I'm asking a few things. And so like, hey, I'm receiving basics, and really we are not vibing, if you will, right? We're not doing anything that's creating any sort of electric charge. And I don't know if you realize this, but like, have you ever watched somebody else cry that you hardly even know and you start crying? You tear up from their emotion. Why? Because that's how powerful, right, other humans are for us. It really is like a true connection. And so when we can actually be communication ninjas, if you will, you can pull true emotion, truth about finances, truth about a situation, share things with people that all of a sudden put you at a level that is so much deeper than just here's your fee sheet, here's your application, here's what your next steps are. And while all of those things have to take place, they take place with such a different level of trust and openness when you have been a communication ninja. And so if you don't know something, say it. Say it out loud. If you don't know, say it. That is so powerful, and it's something that can be such a lost art, especially when we think about sales. Oh, I've just got to be confident, and so I'm just going to, make something up. Well, that's losing confidence within yourself. It's not feeling authentic, and so you start with the ums and the ands and filling gaps with wasteful words, if you will, instead of just saying, you know what, I don't know the answer to that one, so I'm going to need to dig into it. In fact, let me write it down for a minute, which is honor and respect and showing somebody that you're taking it seriously, and then I'll get back to you. Right? I'm going to call you this afternoon and give you those answers. So huge on saying that you don't know something when you don't know. Don't pontificate. What does that even mean? Opinion without pushback is bad, and it's honestly boring. And so enter a conversation assuming that you have something to learn instead of always something to teach. I struggle with this one sometimes because I tend to probably be a bit of a know-it-all at times, or instantly want to go into coach mode, or instantly think of my response. If you are thinking about your response instead of listening, you are ultimately multitasking. You're probably doing a little bit, right, of not going with the flow. Like you're more starting and stopping in your own head. And man, you could miss an opportunity to have such a great conversation as a result of it. And so going with the flow in conversation is incredibly important. Really, truly honing in with a borrower. And if they're down a rabbit hole, there's a way to redirect at some point where hey, maybe we've gone too far and we've got to get back on task for time and those kind of things. Fair enough, but make sure that you are staying in flow. Have you ever had somebody come in and interrupt a conversation, or everybody's having a conversation and then they say something and everyone's kind of like, where'd that come from? Where's that awkward, like, whoa, that was out of the blue? And your brain is so confused because it's on this different space. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoop, I'm over here. I'll tell you what, that in itself, you guys, is so disruptive to the energy that's being created, especially if somebody is giving you a little bit of vulnerability. And all of a sudden it's like, yep, I'm in high D mode. I got to move on. So I'm just going to say, okay, let me ask you another question. And they're like, I was just about to a place where I was going to tell you really what I'm afraid of in this transaction. And so make sure that you are staying in flow on the conversation. Don't equate your experiences with theirs. When things happen in our life, let's say that you recently lost a pet and you have clients come in and they say, our dog just died. And you immediately go, oh my gosh, my dog died 6 months ago. And let me tell you all about me. Not only is that stealing, right? Stealing the frame back, but it's automatically making some assumptions about how they felt about it. Maybe assuming that it's good, maybe assuming that it's bad. We are so guilty of this in humanity in general. Let's say somebody says to you that they broke up with their boyfriend or girlfriend. You immediately are sad for them, but really they feel very empowered and good about it. we often put a narrative that we think is appropriate in people's mouth, or what our opinions are, the way we see it, our comparisons. We add that to people, and then it's awkward to stop that conversation right then and there and let them truly open up. And I'll give you I actually talked a little bit about this on one of my Monday snippets about like wine tasting. The sommelier wine tasting, some of them will tell you exactly what they believe that you're going to taste. Hey, you're going to taste apple, you're going to taste banana right now. They'll walk you through it. And then when you take a drink, you literally, oh, there's a little apple. Oh, there's a little banana in the tasting of wine. Here's what's interesting. If they say nothing, you might not have ever gone to apple. You might not have even gone to banana. You might have your own history in flavor that takes you to something totally different. But because they programmed you, that's where you go to, right? You ever not smelt anything and then somebody says, do you smell that? And then all of a sudden you're like, maybe I do. Like, okay, maybe, yeah, I do. Like, we are programmable, you guys. And so when we are saying things to people that are our assumptions, we are holding them back from telling us what they think, how they feel, what they believe. And that is the root of, right, having a great client for life relationship, having a great referral partner for life relationship. So incredibly important. Try not to repeat yourself. We're all a little guilty of that, right? Try not to repeat yourself and talk in circles. Sometimes when we want to get a point across, this is very, very famous, I believe, in partner relationships and marriage in general. We tend to say, like, do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? My husband always says, you're saying the same thing 100 different times in 100 different ways. I got it the first time, right? He really got it the 10th potentially, but we tend to do that. I think women are a little bit worse at this than men, where we if we're not positive that it's landed, we keep going, we keep going, we keep going. And so don't be afraid to just pause and let somebody respond instead of continuing to talk. Makes a huge difference. Listen is the most important. Listen, 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 listen. And listening is not just, I can hear you. It's I'm looking at you. I'm actively listening. They can see that I'm present. They can see me nodding my head, right? And so just like how you talk, communication ninja, hey, I'm talking with my hands. I'm talking with my eyes. It's an important point. I'm going to whisper for a minute to make sure you leaned in and listened, or I'm going to be more animated. It's so incredibly important, equally important in the listening skills. Have you ever thought to yourself, I think someone's listening, but they're looking around, they're looking at their phone. They're not there. Active listening also requires active body language, active acknowledgement, not interrupting. I keep going. Like, it's okay to just, I want to edify. You're on a roll. I want to keep listening to you. And I'm not thinking, I want to respond. I want to respond. I want to respond. When's my turn? And that is, night and day. And if you were to pause for a minute and think, when was the last time somebody truly listened to me? When was the last time? And even in my day-to-day, I can tell you, I don't do that much listening and I have to be better at it. But when we nail it and we truly listen to somebody, it is night and day in terms of connection and feeling heard and being respectful. And then the very last thing, while I haven't been probably very brief today, it's be brief. Say as much as needed, right? As much as necessary and never more than is needed. Right? As much as necessary, never more than is needed. Sometimes the pause, the power of the pause in conversations, in selling in general, but really in any conversation, if you just pause, people think, where did you go? And then they are prompted to break that silence. And sometimes that pause in itself, it's who talks first loses. And so you might make a really profound statement or ask a profound question or give them a great opportunity of choices on a mortgage loan or on a house or anything else, but you want them to choose so badly that you just talk right through the close instead of just pause. I used to talk through any awkwardness or cringy moment. If I was asking a borrower for a current client referral and I was saying to them out loud, hey, I'd love the opportunity. I used to do it very soft, right? I'd love the opportunity to work with any of your family and friends. If you think of any, please send them my way. Pretty soft there, right? And then I got to a place where I would say, hey, because you are now searching for a home, you're officially pre-approved. What you're going to do is go out there, and Reticular Activator is going to be hearing and listening and sharing with people all about the fact that you're about to buy a house. And they're in turn going to say, I'd like to own a home, or I've thought about selling my home, or I want to buy, or I've thought about refinancing. And here's what I know. those people, you probably already know some right now that maybe talked to you before you came in here. And I'd love to know their names, and I'd love to see if you would refer me. And then I would be quiet. And I will tell you what, just that silence alone, they would be like, oh yeah, I do. I actually do have some names. And I'm like, it's okay. I'll wait. Like if they're in your cell phone, maybe we can group text. Like I wouldn't break the silence. Instead of, if you think of somebody, you could just get with me later. So breaking that awkwardness, you guys, is a huge miss in general versus power in the pause. So remember, things are hard, things are tough. Maybe you're needing them to make a decision. It's okay to make a statement and then it's okay to pause before you even respond and say, let me think about that for a minute. Because I can't tell you how many times I've opened my mouth and put my foot in it. It's too many to count, and I'm sure it will be many, many more. But I promise you, I constantly work at it. I role play in the shower. I practice. I write things down. I read things. I think about the way I phrase things. I reread emails. All of the things in general that allow for you to ultimately be a communication ninja. And if you're a communication ninja, I promise you, you will make revenue, friends, sphere, clients for life when you know how to communicate, because most of the world does not. We'll see you soon.